Hello, friends and lovers, and maybe even enemies. We are back with you again from the
Hello,
quarantine.
everyone.
Step us off. Oh, make yourself a little louder, bro.
Louder? How's this?
Okay,
No?
that's better. Yeah,
Yeah?
and closer to
Okay.
the mic. So we are here on our special 3 time a week spaceship. Somebody just sent a spaceship somewhere, but this is the real spaceship where we get to traverse time and space together, get to the root cause of what's going on in the world, to understand together, to grow together, to learn together, prepare ourselves to enter into the new level of humanity, the spiritual level of humanity, connected in our good future. Um, in
Yeah.
order to leave.
You just said spaceship. I gotta interject here. I, he- I heard a great example today with regards to the coronavirus. Just a quick thing. It's just like there was this expert today that had a media expert that had a conversation with Kabbalist Dr. Michael Leitman, and he said that when the corona thing started happening, then it reminded him how when he was a kid he really liked the UFO movies, like UFO documentaries, UFO movies, anything aliens basically. And there he said like any movie, any UFO movie always starts with this, there's this dramatic opening scene where everyone's looking in different places around the world, they're looking up and they're seeing this gigantic thing boom like landing on the planet. And that was actually a great metaphor for what COVID kind of did to everybody. And now we want to talk about what's happening, today, but in a sense, and maybe we'll tie it later to get later in the show, we'll tie it together. This is a continuation of this new UFO that is happening. Okay, I'm just throwing some arrows for later. Go
Okay,
ahead,
I
man.
like it. I like it. Throwing arrows?
Arrows, yeah, arrow. I said arrows.
Yeah.
Maybe
What does
maybe
that even mean? Is
ropes. Maybe ropes.
okay?
Maybe
Throwing us a
threads.
rope to hold on to, or throwing us an arrow to? Okay, we'll figure that out later.
I'm
These are
not
the
sure.
mysteries of
Maybe
Kabbalah.
it's a spaceship. Yeah.
Okay, so we're moving into a new world together. We have no choice. We have no choice together to move into a new world. In order to do that, we have to leave the old one behind. The old world, everybody, you know it. I'm just going to remind you. I'm going to remind you what you already know. We are living in a world of lies. We are living in a total world of lies. Do you know what was happening the day before George Floyd's murder was caught on a cell phone? So somebody caught the horrific,
Yeah. I guess
disgusting
a bunch of
act.
things happened, and maybe even things just as horrible, but we just don't know about them.
That's exactly right. Before somebody captured what happened, so somebody captured what happened to George Floyd on their phone and
Yeah.
posted it on social media. But let's not kid ourselves that that's somehow unique, because the day before or the 2 days before, somewhere in the world, for sure, also in America, horrible things were happening between blacks and whites, whites and blacks and blacks, whites and whites, men towards women, adults towards children, horrible things everywhere, every day. And in general, we it didn't make us happy if we knew about it, but we lived in a with a veil over our eyes
Mm-hmm.
and we lived our lives. It didn't touch us. And if it did, it touched us somewhat. But as a population, it didn't penetrate. We continued to live our lives like everything was going on. There was the difference between after George Floyd and before George Floyd was what, because one person caught something on a cell phone and then all of a sudden all of this is born because of one video? Impossible. No, all of this was already there. Okay, we're living in a world of lies where we don't see it really, and many reasons for that. And then also we don't have the ability to act. And not only that, we don't know what to do to act. We don't have the understanding of what's it would be overwhelming, first of all, to see that our entire world is built on corruption and lies. And then how can we live? How
So,
can
so what,
we go on if we were to actually see that that's the case?
Seth? What you're saying? Tell, tell me if I got you right. You're saying basically not that this wasn't a horrible thing, and it's understandable the amount of rage and anger that,
100%.
but you're saying if we saw all of the horrible, horrendous, in, incredibly, disgusting things that are happening not close to our eyes, we'd be, we'd be
The
just
only difference is
as
that our eyes saw them. They were all
right.
happening before.
Okay. So basically nothing. So in that sense, so that's a sensitive thing because it sounds like it may sound like to some people that you're saying like now all of a sudden we're enraged, but the thing is that horrible things like this are happening all the time. Our world is is typically covering up all of the suffering that is caused by
Covering it up with what? Covering it up
with with
with
what?
all kinds. Well, okay, so for example, in Hong Kong now, right?
Yeah.
Totally different kind of government, and we're not going to get into that situation, but if we were there, that would be what we were talking about. You can look at the police brutality between
Mm-hmm.
yellow people and yellow people, and it's horrible. It's horrible, right? And it's not about race. Okay. And it's really, really bad what's going on there. And it's not about race. There's curfews and there's violence and there's police versus civilians. Terrible, terrible situation. So, what happens? So, each place in the world has its own unique way of dealing with it. But what happens here? What happens here is that we are suppressed because of the way that we're built. Our desires are suppressed. So we're not going to get into systemic. We're not going to. Well, let's talk about a few things at one thing at a time, because otherwise it's too big a problem. But for example, um, I feel that there's problems in this country, right? I feel there's problems in my life. I feel there's problems in relations. But I get up in the morning and I
Yeah.
have to go to work to pay my bills,
Sure.
and my problems at the end of the day feel so overwhelming that I just need to watch. I need to relax and let off some steam. So I just need to eat something and then just watch something to calm me down, or listen to something to calm me down. Then I'm tired and I do the thing over again, and I don't have enough energy. So I get some more coffee and I go to work again. And the problems are so big and overwhelming. And then I get home at the end of the day. So we're set into a world of lies that makes us think that this is the only way we can live. Well, I have to pay my bills. Well, I have to do this. And so the problems just persist. We never take the opportunity to ask what's going on in our life. That's it, Asaf. That's it. The question of what is going on in our lives, why are we living, what is this all about, is constantly suppressed and constantly by ourselves, by society. And so we live in a lie. We live in a lie that our life is about uh, going to just working to pay the bills. We live in a lie that I need to vote, that because somebody else has different opinions than me, I need to be violent towards them. That so, I mean, if you look at the newspaper today, bro, I'm taking a lot of time speaking here, so just jump in
No,
at
no,
any
no,
time. But
man.
if you
No, go ahead. I'm just getting into
if you
your
look at the if
flow.
you look at the newspapers here, man, you would think that it's like two countries you'd think it was like two enemy countries fighting against each other. It's the same countries, just these two opinions. It's is it the right that's out there on the street right now stoking the left so that so that Trump can pull the forces, the military out and be strong, because that when people are scared, that's a great time for a ruler who wants to take advantage. The more frightened people are, the better it is for the ruler, because then he can exert more power, all kind of homeland security and all kind of police on the street and all kind of surveillance. Now, or is it that the left is coming out to overthrow, something? It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. All of these things are just about sowing division, and all of these things take away from the essence of the matter, which is spirituality, which is what is the meaning of our life, which is we are all one man with one heart. We are well. Can we, maybe it's a time to pull up the quote, the Kabbalist,
Sure,
the Nachman
sure,
quote. You want to do that?
sure.
Okay. This is very.
You
Yeah,
wanna
I'll share
show
it
it?
here,
Okay.
and you read it and give the.
All right. Let's do that. sure.
Here we go.
Um,
Uh, how's
okay.
that look?
Okay. Yeah, looks pretty good. Maybe just click that arrow button so we see more of the actual. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. So here's something the Kabbalist writes to us about peace, right? The essence of peace is to bring two opposites together. Therefore, do not be deterred by seeing someone who has a completely opposite view than your own, as you may think there is no possible way to hold peace with them. And when you see two people who are polar opposites to each other, do not say that peace cannot be made between them. On the contrary, this is the essence of peace, to strive for peace between two opposites. This is from Kabbalist Nachman of Breslov. Okay, so this quote takes us to a specific angle here, right? There's a reason why the division is so extreme between people in general, between every individual and other individuals, between races, between what we identify as skin colors, between mentalities. And there's also a reason, and when I say there's a reason, I mean there is a reason embedded in nature. There is a reason embedded in the program of nature for the fact that it is escalating today. And what this Kabbalist was just telling us is that the only way to achieve true peace, and that state you were talking about that is not in our grasp right now, if you look at the news, that state of being one man and one heart, the only way to achieve that is by sensing our separateness first, by starting from division. True love is built on hate. It sounds hard, but that's what it's hard to accept, but we got to understand what that means. But we cannot sense anything in reality without two opposites. Whether it's plus and minus, black and white, being satiated and being thirsty, being hungry and being full, uh, you cannot understand colors, music, feelings, thoughts. You cannot understand anything without being between two opposites. Only between two opposites meaning is formed for us, for the human experience, for the human perception. And so the fact that people are rising up against each other, and like you said, everyone is right now also just fanning the flames and everything, and it's horrible. But the fact that this is happening just goes to show that we have to find how to complement each other. We have to find how to make peace between us and not cover up the differences, not try to eliminate the differences, not try to avoid the differences. That's yeah, these that's an interesting sight, I think, that you see across in among like the chaos and the violence. There's actually a lot of situations. I saw also a bunch of these
This is
similar
a Facebook page I
similar
came across
photos.
called Sick World. This person, whoever it is, puts up some
Yeah,
unbelievable pictures about the environment and all different things. And they've been showing just incredible pictures of black and white people like cooperating amidst, could you imagine if this was what the media showed all the time was just people helping each other and supporting each
sure.
other?
So that's exactly the point. That what we're missing is to make it a public discourse, a public discussion, to put it on the daily agenda. How much did we find, did we strive, going back to that quote, how much did we strive for peace today?
And
That's
we're
the,
not
yeah,
we can't wait for the media to do it. We can't wait for anybody to do it. This is kind of where my anger or whatever it was at the beginning of the show came from. What happened from the day after George Floyd to the day before George Floyd, but besides that somebody caught it on camera, right? We're not wait for anyone else to go out and start injecting love into the system. We cannot wait for anyone else to go out and start educating about how to connect, and that's what we're going to do with our guests today. We have two couples of mixed colors, married couples, and we're gonna bring them on soon and ensure that we're not waiting for anyone else to come to educate, to bring these points of view, to talk about how we unite, to inject this love, because they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's up to us. It's up to each and every person here to make this what we do in our life. We don't need to silence other people's opinions. We need to, like the Kabbalist Nachman of Breslov wrote there, that peace, and Asaf said that astounding thing that love is built on hate. Peace does not mean that everybody just agrees with me and then we just all get along. How boring. Could you imagine
That
making
that's
love like that, or
that's
flavors in food? Like, it's everything would
exact
just be
Exactly. You have to have,
nothing. There'd be no
you have
flavor.
to have drama in a film in order for it to work. You have to have, sadness in music in order for the happy climax to work. You have to,
Music
it,
always resolves back.
yeah.
Builds attention and resolves, and
But
that's where the emotion comes
but
from.
here's the thing. The question is, when there is such a situation like George Floyd that presents itself, what are we doing with it? Are we striving to learn from it and start learning how to connect with each other, how to complement each other, how to rise to a higher level where we're all one, or we're fanning the flames and trying to create additional conscious division? That's what. And today we're in a world. Today, you're bringing our guests in the meantime while I rant about this a little
Do you
bit.
see me going off to the side? I'm sending them the link, and then we'll bring them in when you're
Okay, I
ready.
just want to say this: we're living in a world that is, like you said, it's full of lies. But it's not just full of lies; it's full of uh, um, mutual exploitation. Where everything in all human engagements today are working to maximize self benefit and self preservation, and that's why you have competing news networks that are fighting for who can show things in the in the more frightening way, so we can scare you, so you can watch us more, because everything is based on rating, and rating means money. That's why you have all kinds of politicization of what's happening now, because parties and political interests are now
Asaf, if
fighting.
I saw these
Yeah,
pictures, if I saw these pictures on the news,
yeah.
if this is what they showed me on the front page of the newspaper, and if this is what they showed me in the news, I would probably turn the TV off and go play outside, and probably
or
everyone would
or
go play outside.
you would cry and want, peace to happen, like you would. That's exactly what needs to happen here. We need to, look at, as a society, look at this George Floyd situation and learn, where have we gone wrong, what can we do now to become unified, how can we rise above hatred so that it doesn't erupt again, so that when next time when hatred erupts, it only erupts in within us as a spiritual obstacle, without materializing in such a
So
horrible
that's
way.
this is very important. This is a teachable moment. So the hatred, the opposite forces don't need to go away. In fact, if you want to power like a phone, you need like small amount of power. But if you want to power something big, you need a huge amount of power. And if the huge amount of power just comes through, it's going to blow up the machine or whatever. So what you need to do is you need to have some kind of resistance against the power, and through that it develops the energy in the machine.
Let me say it like this. Okay, yes, if we were a spiritually evolved society, or even just a spiritually engaged society, would be able to undergo these eruptions of hatred without these horrible physical, corporeal manifestations of violence. We'd be going through them as a split second conscious thing. It has, we said in the beginning, love has to be built on hate, but hatred doesn't have to manifest in that horrible situation like we saw with
It
George Floyd.
manifests as power that's cultivated in one way or another, like a knife. Okay, so we won't. So just to give
Yeah.
everyone a heads up for a second, Bright is working. He is not able to be here now, so we don't have a global check, and we aren't able
Yet,
to. We
yet.
haven't kept track of every question. But Asaf, before we bring the guests, you want to do? I see Emily Williams has a question. You want to try a question quick
Yeah, I'll just
before
say
we do?
that Bright just let me know that he will be coming as soon as he can, and when he will, he'll be collecting questions from the chat. So
Excellent,
maybe,
excellent. Okay,
yeah,
I see so many friends here. Hi, everybody, everybody. Okay, so this is a question, Asaf, from Emily Williams. Emily, I'm not sure where you're from. You may have wrote it up top. Um, Asaf, Emily asks on Facebook.
yeah.
So to see the bigger picture,
Mm-hmm.
what is nature telling us? First, we were pushed into our homes to stay into a corner. Don't be
Ooh.
connected. Now it's pushing us outside to protest together. Can you elaborate on nature's plan here?
Wow, thank you for this question, Emily. First of all, these things, see, this is the exactly where the wisdom of Kabbalah steps in and tells you all these things are connected. All these events that are happening, that are taking place in the world, it's not isolated events. No, we're in a network. All of nature is a network, meaning that everything that happens is connected to everything else. The eruptions that we're seeing now in the form of racism, police brutality, division, riots, violence. What are they showing us, and how does that have to do with COVID? They're showing us that we haven't solved, haven't healed the rupture between us as human beings. We need to rise to a point where we go through a radical change of mind and heart and become as one man in one heart, where we don't eliminate the differences, but the differences complement each other into a harmony, into a symphony. COVID is a response of the natural system that pushed us away from each other, even to the point where we have to be socially distanced from each other because we haven't worked on connecting with each other in the right way. And so, guess what? Even though it sent us home, nature kind of told us, hey, go home. You've created a world where you exploit each other, you exploit the planet. Go home for a while, sit and think. So we went home, but we haven't thought about it enough. We haven't started educating ourselves consciously as a global society to start
We
connecting
didn't
with
go
each
through an
other.
inner transformation
And the
enough. It
result
turned,
is, if you will, another horrible George Floyd situation. So
and
yeah.
we anticipate again. It's because nature is pushing us in a direction that we must come together, and we must come together in a good and connected way, in a way that's good for everyone. And eventually, it won't happen tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. But there's a lot of very smart people on the planet. We need to figure out. We need to arrange all of the resources so everybody on the planet has enough of
Mm-hmm.
everything, enough to eat, and all of a sudden the planet will start to vibrate. Will start to be in a different way completely.
Yeah.
Everything will start to feel different. It will feel like we're living on air almost.
Yeah.
It'll be a whole different way. But this is, for future shows to
Yeah.
get into what that means. Um,
Yeah. We should bring in our
let's
guests, I
do it.
think.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
You need to like tie a rope to my leg and pull me down when I start doing that.
No, no, man. I just I wanted to add. So we have.
Okay.
I think
Yes. Where are
they're
we
already
going?
here in our virtual waiting room. So let's just bring them in. We're gonna bring in some great friends of ours, Gil and Patrice, Chris and Penelope, um, longtime Kabbalah students, great brothers and sisters. We can see that they're coming on. They're coming on. Something's happening. Guys, can you hear us? We think you're there. We don't see you yet. There we go. There we go. Hello. Hey,
Hello,
friends.
Okay.
hello,
So
hello. Hey.
hi everyone. Okay. So
Hi, everyone.
let's introduce our couples here. So we have decades and decades uh, of Kabbalah experience here. All four of our friends who are joining us now are amazing friends of ours. We've all been on the path together, studying with our teacher, and this has been such a weird I've never called a friend in Kabbalah based on skin color. It never, it wasn't even something that occurred to have to do, because the whole premise of everything we've studied up until this moment, or everything we continue to study actually, is about one man, one heart, one humanity, one love, spirituality above our bodies. Get outside of your body, go outside of your body. Whatever your body is, feed it, whatever. But the whole study is about our soul, right? And then all of a sudden, nature, creator, same word, we use those words interchangeably in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Nature says this is something you need to deal with now. I'm putting this in front of your face to deal with it. And we have many friends who just who married each other without color being a thing between them. Um, called I called Gilly and Chris and asked them to join our show. Right away, they said yes. Thank you all for you all are actually Penelope and Chris. You're in Philly, but Patrice and Gilly, you guys are in New York. I know there's a curfew in New York now. I don't think there's a fire and looting on your street, but probably within 3 miles of you there is. Asaf, how did you want to open this conversation?
I think let's just. I really want to hear the friends. Just guys, maybe just tell us what's up with you guys. How are you feeling this whole situation? Just whoever wants to speak, just go ahead.
So how are you feeling?
So I feel wonderful. It cannot be any better.
Really, with all that's happening now. Ha-
Yes.
okay.
It's actually amazing. Last night, that was the first night ever that after 11 p.m., there were no cars on the street, and it was so beautiful and quiet for a
Oh,
change.
now I see what you're saying.
That's an unfortunate fortunate thing.
Hmm.
Side. I don't know. I don't have a word for that.
Hmm.
But it's definitely been a challenging time. Certainly, um, kind of like putting you face to face with everything that you know sits under the surface in society that's simmering constantly. That we're just kind of keeping the lid on that pot
Hmm.
and trying to keep the lid on the pot. And every now and then it boop, pops up, little boils over, little boils over, little boils over, and now we have the lid blown off. Um, and, it seems history repeats itself. And you have a lot of emotions that you go through. Even
Hmm.
in as students of Kabbalah, you still have you're internalizing what's happening, and you're trying to make some sense of what your emotions that you go through, and bring that around, and still try and have a settled sense of it's unsettling, generally speaking, on the corporeal level. You don't want to see a brick go through your window um, under any circumstance. So you're still kind of facing that on the ground here, that anything can happen at any moment when you're seeing tanks suddenly going down the streets of anywhere USA.
How do
Yeah.
I feel? I feel like a hurricane inside of me myself because even though I'm home, I'm safe with my family. We're all interconnected. So whatever is happening in the environment really affects us, right? And I feel like what's happening is typical of us human, right? So we always start something. It seems we start something with a good intention. You always see this in medicine, education, and in everything, right? Oh yes, we're gonna protest with the good intention to support this person, and then we see the intentions according to the results. So now we're seeing this that's happening, and it's just very very concerning. Any thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, on this level, it seems very concerning. I just find it so interesting that we've been living for 3 months under these conditions, and all of a sudden, people are out in the world now, and just like not worrying about the virus anymore. All of a sudden, it's like, oh,
Hmm.
did the virus go away because this thing happened? So it's interesting, and you just see how negative the media culture is, and how they can just pinpoint one thing
Hmm.
that obviously was a tragedy, but you look, like you guys were saying earlier in the program, these types of tragedies that human nature brings about, where we are abusing each other on every level, every part of the planet. It just takes one thing that they want to create a story about to all of a sudden bring chaos to a society. So that, that's definitely interesting. But I think the main thing is just, seeing how much, in my opinion, manufactured vitriol is being
Mm.
produced because of this, because of what
Okay.
the media is promoting, and what, because
Mm-hmm.
people are just picking up on social media and promoting. Um, and I think that's where we really have to come in and bring this message of unity, bring this message that we're all different, and it's actually great to be different, and we need to highlight our differences. We need to understand that, a developing human has his base animal desires, but then he has his human desires. And within those human desires is actually racism. It's actually a human quality. It's not an animal quality. Because
Mm-hmm.
if I have a certain skin color and you have a certain skin color, and because of my position, I think I am better than you, then that enhances my egoism. And
Right.
that can be anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter. But what we need to do is to recognize that as a human function, and then to educate ourselves and grow beyond that function. That, and to me right now, we need to get that message out there, because it seems like it's just a lot of hatred and a lot of unnecessary hatred, I would say.
Okay, so guys, I want to just take it right where you brought us, Chris. We have people now connected to us from all over the world. Really, I can't. We don't have the list right now because Bright usually is with us behind the scenes helping us. But I saw people. Seth, where do you see people? I see people here from Brazil. I saw from North Carolina, from Missouri, from New York, from LA, from Ethiopia. I think I saw even a bunch of people are now connected to us from many different places in the world. People who are of different walks of life and different colors and flavors. And like
For
Seth
example,
said,
Sheer is in North Carolina, and someone from Ghana.
there you
So
go.
yeah, all over the
So
place.
so we have people from all over the place listening to this now, and we want, like Seth said in the beginning, there's a combined experience here in the wisdom of Kabbalah of many years. Let's just jam this together and really continue what Chris just started. How can we give an interpretation to what is actually going on here? If we try to like really strip the pictures and like just look at the mechanisms that are at work here. What is really happening to human beings right now? What should we put our focus on, and how can we really grow from this tragedy? What what do we do with it? So
Oh, Gillian Patrice. Okay, you were frozen for a sec.
what do you say, guys?
So what?
How do we interpret what is happening right now from a Kabbalistic point of view? Chris, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I think we need to strip it down, and first of all, help people come to the recognition that we're all in one system of nature, that we're all a part of it, and everyone has a place. I think that's the most important thing, first of all. Secondly, we have to also help people realize that our society is based off of human egoism. So it's inherently sick, because our relationships are based off of that quality of wanting to receive for oneself instead of the other. Um, so we need to have this recognition of the state we're in, the recognition of our nature, and more importantly, approach people with a method where we can recognize our nature and also work to try to create something above it. What do you think?
Absolutely. We think we need to recognize that we're not the same. We're all different, even if we're from the same nationality or country. We're all different. We have unique attributes that make us who we are, and this is the how the world is. I think that we need to create a system where every person in society can contribute to society according to the attributes, special to the special attributes that they have. I think that will be the perfect society.
Yeah, there's what Penelope just said. I just recalled there's this wonderful quote from Bala Sulam. He talks about it in an article called "Peace in the World." That every person, every individual in humanity has this quality of uniqueness, where he feels and he recognizes that he's unique in the world. And our whole trouble is that we don't know how to operate our uniqueness in favor of the whole system, and that's what the whole educational system needs to do for us. Teach us how we can be a contributing, healthy piece in the whole system, and we'll feel extreme pleasure from that and sublime pleasure from existing this way. So just wanted to bring that up. Patrice, you want to say something? I think Gil Patrice.
Yeah. So, as a student of Kabbalah, I think that the main thing here is to educating ourselves. That there is two forces in nature, like you mentioned in the beginning. That in order to understand one force, we need to understand the other force. And I think that right now there is clashing between egoism, and we need to educate ourselves in how to work together. It's the same thing like cancer in the body. It's a cell that goes against its own body and eventually is going to die. And this is what we need to understand and what we need to educate ourselves, that if we're not going to work together for the benefit of the other, then we can destroy humanity as a whole. Patrice?
Yeah, I can only add to that. It's like if we're going to come to a place where, we really have peace between us, because that's really the only option. We have to recognize that there's no other option. If we continue with violence one way, violence the other way, it only begets more violence. There's no peaceful solution at the end of violence. So and if we're going to be able to find that thing that connects us beyond all of these differences that we see, that we're going to have to look and search really deep and hard and be ready to want to learn how we can go over these things that we see as differences and really see that these are the things that bring us together, and that we each have our part to play. We're parts in this system, and each part has its own part to play, and doesn't work with one part without the other. And if we all find our role in this, and we can work together with these differences and just see how much that we really are together and the same.
It feels to me like these problems are so big and so overwhelming, and again we completely forget what in Kabbalists call the creator, what is called nature. The point of these problems is to push us and push us and push us to finally need a solution in our emotions, in our guts, to want something, that we come to this kind of internal cry that we need a solution. And then nature develops us like a baby. Like when a baby cries, he doesn't have to say, Mom, I need, in a minute and a half, can you please, nurse me? And then after that, change my diaper. It's like the mother knows. And in the same way, nature developed us with so much intelligence. The problem is bigger than us. We have to come together now and squeeze ourselves, squeeze out, and realize we don't, that I'm this way. I was built this way. Nature created me that way. Nature created, look at everyone on the screen looks so different, right? Nature created us all different. And then together we can create this future that none of us would be able to come up with on our own. Just Bright is with us. He's giving us a global check. So Patrice and Gilly and Fish and Penelope, I want you to know who you're speaking to, who's with us here. So Paris, Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, Brazil, Russia, New York, British Columbia, Miami, Guatemala, St. Louis, Ethiopia, Connecticut, United Kingdom, North Carolina, South Africa, Iowa, Mexico, Washington, Israel, Ohio, Ghana, Colorado, Serbia. First time, hey, Serbia, San Francisco, and Toronto. Wow.
And none of us would be complete without all of these people from all of these places, with all of these different styles of a unique desire that deep down, even if we don't realize it, we all want to connect as one. We all want to connect with that unifying force of nature. That's what we're looking for. That's what we aspire to in everything that we do unconsciously. That's what we want. We want to be filled with pleasure, with eternal bliss, and that can come only from connecting with a higher force that lies between us. And so our opposites are the way to get there. We're just not using them in the right way. It's like,
and even if you're a Kabbalist, you still have all of the desires Chris talked about, the animal desires and the human desires. You still have hatred inside of you. You still have all of the normal rejections and all of those things. So I'm going to ask a question. I'll start asking a question to Patrice and Gilly, since I think you have 45 children. I don't know, how many children do you have now? 5. So I'm sure you see this in your house. Here's a question from Heather Brown on YouTube, and I want to direct this to Patrice and Gilly, because you have 2 Kabbalists, 2 longtime Kabbalists, probably almost 40 years of studying the wisdom of Kabbalah here. They have kids. And what do you think? The kids come out and they're just angels, and they're always sharing everything with each other. And mommy, how can I help you? And daddy, yes, I'm here, daddy. I brought you your drink. And okay, there's just human beings that are raised. So Heather Brown on YouTube is asking, and we're going to first, Gillian Patrice, if you'll answer this. How do we put this into practice? How do we teach the aggressor that his or her behavior is not acceptable? Bad behavior is learned. So Heather's saying bad behavior is learned behavior. The wisdom of Kabbalah might even say that, will also say that there's something inside of us, this egoistic quality, but a lot of this comes from education. So how do we teach the aggressor that the behavior is not acceptable?
Well, Kabbalah is science, really. The moment you understand the science, and we have great teacher and great instructors that can help whoever wants, and it's very easy. I know that anyone can register online to any of our wonderful courses, but really, Kabbalah is science that teaches you how to deal with the revelation of evil within yourself. So, it's to recognize when your ego goes above someone else, just in order to use that, just in order to use the egos for his own benefit. So the moment you know how to work with that, then you know how really to, how should I say? Sorry, how to work with.
There we go.
With the ego that is exactly
how to work with the disturbances. Yeah.
Exactly. It was in the making.
No, it's true, and when you bring it down, just on the ground here in the living room, in the kitchen, in the office, it's it's so up to us. Like, it's up to me not to expect my child to know precisely how to work with his ego, but it's up to me to show what that's supposed to look like, and then teach and help.
I want to ask a question
by example.
I want to ask another question to you guys, Patrice and Gilly specifically. I think maybe this is something our viewers are interested in. As people who got into Kabbalah before you got into being with each other, do you feel that the fact that you are, a married couple being black and white, do you feel that the wisdom of Kabbalah somehow helped you in terms of how to be together? Because in that, do you think there's something to that we can learn
Well,
from? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
well, absolutely. Kabbalah taught us how to deal with our nature. And in Kabbalah, we say that every time our ego is actually growing and becomes even worse in a way. So how you deal with the same ego, throughout the years and not clashing with your partner and then be a statistic of divorce. Kabbalah does teach you how to work with that, to recognize that there is this nature inside of you that is opposite than the quality of love. It's the nature that wants for oneself. So once you recognize that, then you start creating room for the other one, for the person
There's
Did they freeze
finally
for
two
you?
people who are complete. Are you present? Are you still present?
Yeah, we lost you for a few seconds, but I think we got almost all of it.
Oh.
We lost.
Chris and Penelope, uh, can you speak just to be really blunt and get down to it for our audience here? Your skin is two different colors. You walk into a restaurant, you go in your house, you probably don't even see it anymore. I mean, imagine you don't see it anymore. You're just this concept of Penelope and this concept of Chris, and you guys are, working with each other like that. But I'm sure when you go outside, it it comes up from time to time. We are. How do we educate? How can we educate the public, because we're different? You look different. I mean, not you, anybody, but I'm asking you specifically, right? How do we educate a population that is living in total lies about everything, that not just about colors but in general, right? Because in Hong Kong they're all yellow, right? It's Chinese versus, it's the people in Hong Kong versus the people in the mainland. It's the same skin color, and they're beating the crap out of each other. So but you can make it bigger, but speak to it from your vantage point, if you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, and Gilly was talking, it's recognizing yourself. I mean, the biggest thing is the self scrutiny, um, understanding that everyone is different, and instead of trying to dominate and eradicate those differences, to create a place in yourself where you cherish those differences, um, and that only comes through being environmentally influenced to think in that direction and act in that direction, because naturally we want to highlight those differences, and we want to be skeptical of those differences, and we want to try to be greater than those differences, dominate them, and use one's uniqueness as the pillar, as the apex. Um, so I think the key is recognizing that it's good to recognize the differences, but then to take it to another level, where instead of that natural rejection, which is completely natural, it's not a problem, it's how we were made. But it's the key is how to work on being above that. I would say that much.
Yeah, I don't have anything else much to add. We need to teach everyone that our nature it's egoistic and that we need to change it. That we need to teach everyone that just because you have a different color on your skin doesn't mean that you are different than someone else. I mean, yes, we are different, but at the same time, we are similar because we're all humans. We're all having the same life experience in this world, and we need to try to see people now with different eyes, with the eyes of the soul. We need to see everyone with the qualities that they have to offer us, not with just the skin color.
We have these events a few times a year. The biggest one is in Israel. We had it right, I think, in February. We had maybe, I don't know, 8,000 people at the peak from 150 countries or 140 countries, 30 languages or something like that. Every color, every size, everything. We have smaller events on the different continents. Can you speak? Can you guys talk and gals speak to this, to the emotion of what's that like to be together with all of these people who are striving in one effort together to locate this, and everyone is different and everyone has rejection and everyone is trying to love the other and everyone feels all these things that Chris is saying inside. It's natural to feel rejected. I have a friend um, who's not studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, and I know him from childhood. He asked me about another friend who is studying the wisdom of Kabbalah that he knows. He goes, "Why is he such such a grubby guy? Isn't he studying the wisdom of Kabbalah? Didn't it fix him? Didn't it like what make him clean? No, when you study, you're fish. I think you know what I'm talking about. You're the These things don't go away. In fact, they increase. If we want to receive, okay, we're not going to get into the whole entire wisdom of Kabbalah, but this is real. This is real. We are different. The truth is we're different, just like different organs in the body, right? We're not going back to be sludge where we're all just one thing. No, you have a lung and a heart and a liver. You have all of these distinct things with distinct functions and distinct qualities. Together, they make something wonderful. So we'll open it to our guests. Can you talk about the emotion of what it's like to be at one of these congresses with all of these people together?
So it's really amazing experience, and if you didn't experience that, it's so hard to express it in words, but it really feels like being in harmony with nature, like to the point that you losing yourself and you feel everyone else, but there is an extra something that it's really hard to people that just showed up in those congresses said that it's like kind of a warm feeling that they cannot express. That's kind of the closest, but you really need to experience that. But it's really, I think, when everyone comes together as a family with the unity in mind, that the connection between them is the most important thing. And it's not with your eyes shut, but it's recognition of there is force, opposite force between you that trying to separate you, but on top of it you cover with love. And the great thing that there is something extra the moment that you cover with love and you invite this kind of extra force on this. It this sense of love appears even bigger than before. So basically you're learning to love your partner more and more and more as the ego grows. Then if you use it correctly, your love also grows, which is amazing thing.
Yeah, I
Wow.
think we see more and more opportunities of this as time goes on, where all the differences come up, and certainly in a large gathering like that, you're among so many people, and you're going to find differences, especially in attitude and feeling towards things. But once you see that you have that one factor that one most important factor that you're connecting above all those other factors, that becomes less important, and it's just like right here in our house where, if you would take two of the most opposite people on planet Earth and put them in a house, you have them right here in this apartment in Brooklyn, and you're going to find you have something that is bigger than you that goes above all those other differences, just like in a Congress and just like in our little microcosm at home, just like we'll figure out how to do that in the greater level of the world. We need to be able to see that the revelation of this difference is not a problem. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to use to go beyond what we think is our connection and really find the real thing.
Wow. I just want to add before Chris and Penelope, just to say to our viewers that what you're hearing now are authentic impressions of people who are showing everyone, showing all of us, showing you that this is possible. In these events that Seth asked about, we are meeting together, bringing together all the possible differences you can ever imagine into a room or into a virtual space like this, and truly working on putting them together as one thing. And what you're listening here,
Ex-neo-Nazis and Jews,
just
every sexual orientation, every color,
Arabs and
every
Israelis, whatever
Arab,
you want.
yeah, everything.
Black, white, yellow, red, it doesn't matter. They all come together, and what you're hearing now is what all of these such participants feel. So they're giving you, Chris, Penelope, Patrice, and Gil are like living examples of this. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, guys, it's great to hear that. It's impressions just they can enliven you so much. When I think about those sorts of gatherings, it's you come away, and when you're in it too, it's like you gain a wealth that is just indescribable. There's a richness to it. You see this mosaic of people, especially if you're talking about the big hall in Israel type of thing, where it's just magnified with every sort of person. It's this rich mosaic that you actually feel is you. You feel it as your own, and you internalize it as your own. But I don't really have the words, but basically it's like your own, but it's them, and it's like, oh my gosh, they're them, and that's me, and that's amazing. I hope that's being expressed well. It probably, maybe it is. So it's an incredible asset you gain, and you also have this feeling that it's like, okay, I'm home. I've arrived. I feel what it means to be nurtured by and existing within this singular system we call nature or creator, because we're activating it on that highest level, the human level. So I think we have to use these gatherings as an example for the type of unity we need to bring to the world. Not everyone is aspiring to discover the meaning of their lives, to discover that there's a single force operating all of reality. But we can still provide the method of good relations between people, of realizing that, yes, your nature is a certain way, but we can build relationships above the nature of self-love. So I think those are especially examples we can provide to people too.
Exactly. So this gathering, it's usually goes for 3 days, and it's funny to see that each day it's kind of similar. Like usually at the beginning of the day, you can feel kind of like the tension in the workshops, but then as the day goes by, you see how the whole environment just becomes so warm. It's just such a beautiful atmosphere. And then by the end of the gathering, like the last day, you just don't want to leave. You just want to stay there forever. And it's just a great and amazing experience.
Wow. Thank you, guys. Look, we are in our last minute, maybe 2 minutes here. We got to wrap. I just want to say, as I'm listening to all my friends, and the fact that there's so many people from all over the world now listening to this, what is brewing?
Let's check for one more second.
Sure.
We also had Ukraine, New Jersey, Latvia, Germany, Mexico. I also saw Minnesota. So
All
in
right.
addition to,
there you go. So I'm just, what's brewing in me as I'm like, just trying to capture all of these emotions into a single thing. I'm seeing, as horrible as the situation is now, and what led to it, this tragedy that led to it, and so on, humanity now has an opportunity, and I think that you now have just managed to highlight it and to show it and to be pioneers of this connected future that we can all move into consciously as a single, connected, entity, the moment we begin to realize that our unique differences are what make us one, that our separateness is only a step towards our unification, that the fact that we are hateful of each other is only it's only stage one in this game that nature has put us in. We got to go to the next stage where we start working with all of that, and this is possible. This is what I'm feeling when I'm hearing my friends here, that this is the next stage. It's not only possible, it's inevitable, and that's what we need to start putting the spotlights on, just like these things that have happened a little bit here and there. Even in these riots, people are suddenly starting to realize, wait a second, we can look at this whole thing in a different way. We can learn from this. We can grow from this. We can become one from this. And that is what the news should be about. That is what the media should be streaming to us 24/7. That is what people should wake up in the morning. Like that quote from the Kabbalist, did I strive for peace? Did I strive to work with our differences that nature has given us in order to create that beautiful, connected future? We can do this, friends. I don't know what else to say, Seth.
We are doing this. We are doing this. We are exactly doing this.
I think we'll sing. Okay, guys, stay with us for this song. Stay with us for this song. Let's wave at our viewers a little bit, and together with everyone watching from all over the world, let's feel this opportunity that we have to be as one as we are listening to this All for One song. So there we go.